All right, let's get into it. We're about to dive into one of the biggest digital mysteries, I think, of our generation. And look, this isn't just about some unreleased album. No way. This is about the power of a story that was never, officially told. It's a legend that was pieced together from leaks, from fan lore, and from this incredibly loud, strategic silence. And the craziest part? All of this went down just days before the artist himself just vanished. So, to really get what happened here, you gotta understand the world we're all swimming in right now. I mean, think about it. We are just drowning in these super controlled corporate stories. Everything, right? Your feeds, what's trending, it's all being shaped by algorithms that are built to feed you a very specific version of reality. It's basically an entire landscape of engineered information. Okay, but sometimes in all that noise, something really rare and cool can happen. It's called Bayesian resonance. Just think of it like this. It's a kind of digital mimicry. It's when a story from the outside, a counter-narrative, becomes so real and compelling that it completely messes with the system. It basically becomes this perfect decoy that the algorithms just can't handle. And in the process, it ends up showing us something much, much truer. And that brings us to the absolute core question of this whole thing. What if an artist's real legacy isn't in what they put out there for everyone to hear, but what if in what they decide to hide? What if the masterpiece is the thing they buried? Yeah, this is where the story really kicks off.
Okay, so let's meet the ghost in this machine, shall we? Angels and Demons, that mythical, unreleased album from D.L.B. I mean, for years, this thing was just a rumor, right? A grainy screenshot of a track list floating around online. But when the details finally started to leak out, oh man, what we found wasn't just a ghost. It was a monster.
So, the original story, the legend, said it was 17 tracks. But the reality? When the internal docs finally leaked, we saw the truth. 20. 20 tracks. This thing was a blueprint for absolute glorious chaos. This wasn't just an album, you guys. The fans have a name for it. They call it the Hellcut. And it's the sound of D.L.B. when he was still trying to conquer the entire world. And this just shows you the absolute insane audacity of what he was trying to pull off. I mean, just look at this. Track 16, Same Girl, featuring Kanye West and Drake on the same song. Come on. Then you've got track 2, For the Night, with Bruno Mars and Felix from Stray Kids. You're hitting every single market at once with that. And then the closer, track 20, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Rosé from Blackpink, and Kendrick Lamar. All of them. This is not a track list, it's a fantasy football draft of pop culture gods. So here's the thing you have to understand. This was never, ever just about the music. This was a weapon. It was a meticulously engineered plan for a total global takeover. Every single feature, every genre bend, it was all a calculated move. It was designed to dominate the charts in every major market on Earth simultaneously. So you're probably wondering, how in the world do you even manage that level of creative chaos? The simple answer is you can't, not unless you've built a machine to do it. And that machine was the 11.6 production system. And the people at the controls, they weren't just making beats. They were full-on sonic engineers.
The whole system really stood on 3 main pillars. First, you had Hustle Harmonics laying the foundation. They brought that dark, warm, emotional soul that anchored the whole thing. Then you had Joyons, who was like the melodic bridge. He was the R&B and K-pop crossover genius who could take all that raw grit and polish it into something that would work anywhere in the world. And finally, you had DJ RYR. He was the atmospheric designer, the one who built the mood, the texture, basically the space where the whole story could unfold.
And believe me, this structure was absolutely everything. It was a system literally designed to take the biggest egos and the craziest, most clashing sounds in the music biz and somehow contained them. It was all about using pure technical skill to control what should have been total chaos. And because of that system, it all felt cohesive. It felt intentional. It felt like it was all coming from one single powerful vision. And then he just walked away from all of it. The album was shelved. And in that huge vacuum that he left behind, something truly incredible started to happen. The fans, right? Armed with nothing but leaks and rumors, they started to build their own story. They built a digital shrine to a masterpiece that, technically, didn't even exist. Okay, so at the heart of all this fan mythology is the airport hard drive legend. You have to hear this. The story goes that a master hard drive of the album was misplaced for just a little bit by airport security.
When they found it and tried to give it back, D.L.B allegedly refused it. He just said this one simple, devastating line. And with that, he reframed the whole thing. It wasn't a failure anymore. It was a powerful statement about artistic integrity. And that was it. The album's fate was sealed right then and there. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about deadlines. You have to remember, for an artist who is so obsessed with control, with ownership as a way to protect himself, the sacred chain of custody was broken. The project was compromised. So in his mind, it had to be negated. And then this quote pops up on a fan forum, supposedly from someone close to one of the producers. And it just became the unofficial final word on Angels and Demons. See, the album wasn't destroyed, it was retired. It became this sacred artifact, something that was just too potent, too perfect, maybe even too volatile to actually exist out in the real world. It was a museum piece.
And because of that, it achieved this weird kind of perfection that no real album ever could, right? Think about it. It never had to face critics. It never had to fight for a spot on the charts. It never had to risk disappointing the fans. It just stayed flawless. It exists as this perfect, untouchable idea in the minds of everyone who knows the story. So what happened was, the ghost of Angels and Demons ended up creating something way more powerful than the album itself ever could have. It created a totally new kind of legacy, one built completely out of echoes and whispers. And this is what we've been calling the Echo Archive. It's not a static thing. It's a living, breathing story. It's built by the community piece by piece, from leaks, from super deep analysis, and from pure myth-making. And this fan-made archive, it ended up creating a story that felt more real, more powerful, and honestly more authentic than any slick press release could ever hope to be. It was, in the end, a perfect example of Batesian resonance at work. When you really look at it, the decision to just bury this massive, ego-driven masterpiece, that was the ultimate proof of his whole philosophy, wasn't it? It confirmed that Daniel Bates, the man who wanted peace and integrity, had finally won out over D.L.B, the persona who was chasing fame. I mean, he proved he could build the biggest album in the world, and then he turned around and proved he was strong enough to just let it all go. So that leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending question, doesn't it? If an album can become more powerful, more legendary, and more important because it doesn't exist, was its greatest achievement not its release but its silence? Was the act of shelving Angels and Demons the real masterpiece all along? And hey, before we wrap up, we have to get the legal stuff out of the way. Just so everyone is crystal clear. The Deep Dive, a podcast, and Neon Core Media, we have absolutely no ownership of or any official connection to D.L.B, V2V by D. Bates, RSN Holdings, 11/6 Music, Neon Vision Studios, or, well, any of the other ventures in that whole ecosystem. We're just independent commentators. We're reacting to stuff that's either public or has been leaked. At the end of the day, we're just outsiders with a bit of an obsession, trying to piece together the echoes just like you.